what I look for in a consistent swing is the club goes back on a slightly inside arc, so I get to the top of the backswing, slightly inside, hands are slightly behind right shoulder as I come back down at impact, the hands almost go in line with the right hip, and the club head is obviously slightly behind the hands. But let's talk through this, right? So I'm going to put a cane down. This resembles my ball to target line. So, and another thing that I always try and do is when I'm coaching, I highlight obviously positions that you should obviously get into that's going to help you trying to improve a better sequence of events on the way down. So first thing I always look to is let's go to different positions in the golf swing. So we're going to go in the parallel 1 where the club's halfway back, top of the backswing. Okay, so we're going to stop at top backswing, or 3/4 of the way back, full shoulder turn, come back down halfway down, and then we're going to focus on the club shaft coming through into the impact position after. What I look for in a consistent golf swing is obviously put this cane all the way down the club. So the cane on the floor is basically the arc this resembles. So first thing I get to do is I get to parallel position where the club's at waist height. The first thing that I always try and pay attention to is the cane on the ground should match the cane on the floor, okay? Or the club head should be slightly inside. The club head should be slightly inside the hands. The hands are obviously hip height. I always try and feel like the club head is in line with my right hip, okay? But slightly inside the ball to target line, if that makes sense. And then I get to top of the backswing, so 3/4 of the way back. I almost feel like that my hands are almost middle of my chest. So that, if your chest and hands are in the same position, you're rotating the way back. I see quite a few golfers who don't rotate the chest, the arms kind of stay out to drag the handle, okay? And that's, look how far my hands don't travel. So because if I rotate, my arms are going to go up slightly because the chest is going into more extension, it's going more up the way, it's going to point to the sky. So get to the top of the backswing, hands go through the chest, but they're slightly level with my zips, are slightly behind, okay? I always look for the hands going through the middle of the bicep, between the shoulder and obviously the middle of the elbow. So, and then I get to top of the backswing, so let's focus on that position. So club shaft, so this line of the cane's pointing almost down in between ball to target line and right foot. So I get to top of the backswing, so let's full shoulder turn, right? I'm a little bit stiff at the moment, my shoulders, I've been at the gym recently, so I'm really sore. So if I get to top of the backswing, okay, the thing that I should be pointing at is I try and get my hands behind my right shoulder, but they're almost halfway through between my head and my chin, okay, so they're through the middle of my head, okay. So, and as I come back into the impact position, see how that cane's there is pointing away from the target. I see, fault number 1 I see when people get to the top of the backswing is they lift the arms too high, okay. So what that does, think of the club shaft. So if I lift the club up too high, then what happens from there is this shaft, so this cane gets pointing too far up in a vertical position. So it's going to be really hard for me to release it properly without shifting too much weight back. So if you narrow the swing arc, the body does something to obviously try and get back on track. The brain's a wonderful thing. If you do something, you're psychologically think to get back into it. So if I've got a really strong club face, being it's closed, then we're going to have to work to the right to obviously try and get the club face to manipulate somehow back on target. But anyway, let's start down. So get to the top of the backswing, come back down, so we're talking about club shaft halfway, so let's go 3/4 of the way down, as I said. So we're going to do 6 different positions. So start down, left hip turns out the way. Let's focus on these hands going through the middle of the right shoulder again. So if I get to that position, I always like to see the club head slightly behind the hands here, if that makes sense, but the shaft's in a more horizontal position. So we're getting to the top of that swing, club head's always inside the hands. I see too many golfers who get in this position where the club head's slightly beside the hands. It's good for pitching but not really good for full shots. So we want to create as wide an arc possible on the way down. So if I get to the top of the backswing, then I get halfway down or 3/4 of the way down, the butt end of the club should almost point directly in line in front of me. So think about the right foot, the butt end of the club's pointing directly in a straight line towards the right foot, okay? And if I get halfway down position, so ideally, if I was exaggerating that, I was really inside there, but, so we take the club back, so this cane should go slightly along the left thigh, so it should drag along the left thigh, then the hands lift slightly as we're rotating, and as we get to halfway or 3/4 of the way back, I'm doing this square on, okay? So get to the top, drag the handle along the left hand. We're not dragging the hands inside, we feel like the cane goes slightly along the ground. And then club face in a neutral position. We get to the top of the backswing 3/4. Then that cane should still be in a good position. Hands should go through the middle of the right bicep, sorry. I'm losing my bearings here, left and right. Get to the top of the backswing. Hands should go above right shoulder, but we're rotating obviously, so the chest turns, the arms turn. The arm's going to lift up slightly, okay, because this right hip goes up slightly. That's a byproduct of the right leg straightening slightly. So this lifts up, right hip goes up, hands go up. And then as we start down, 3/4, let's say, way down, the shaft's going to obviously marry up with our feet line. So I like to say that, try and get the club shaft to marry up with your feet line. So get to the top, backswing again, halfway down or 3/4 of the way down. And then the hands go directly through the right shoulder again, or slightly lower because we're shallowing out the club shaft. So we take the club back, probably the hands are slightly higher, but always in the downswing the hands are lower, meaning that the club shaft's shallowed if we turn the body out of the way. So if I was to take it halfway down, so we're talking halfway down when the club's parallel to obviously to the right hip, and then from there I'm going to feel like this shaft, I always like to, when people are on the way down, I feel like too many golfers that don't rotate enough get this butt end of the club pointing too far out to the right. So if I get in this position, this is the club pass, so if I get the shaft, if I rotate properly, the shaft lays down, so it's going to point more to the left. So think about this cane on the ground is the resemblance of the club shaft. So get to the top of the backswing, rotate, but see how there I didn't rotate as much, how the cane's pointing out to the right. That's where the lead hip gets quite high and the hands are obviously tracking out to the right. So think about, we get to the top, the idea is trying to get as much rotation as early as possible with the left hip, so the left hip rotates out of the way as quickly as possible. So we get to there, turn left hip out, see how the shaft almost, the hands are, so if we rotate, the hands are thrown outward but the club head's thrown in, that's going to create a lot of rotation. If before where the hands move in, the club head moves out too much, or if we steepen it, the hands move in, the club head moves out, that's going to create a lot of out-in swing pass. So get to the top, then we get to the top, then we start down, club, the right shoulder, okay, so the right elbow, and the right hip come down together. They always stay in sequence. If you've ever read Ben Hogan's book where he talks about when you set up, the right elbow and the left elbow should be obviously attached to both hips. So if I get down to the backswing, right hip and right elbow are in contact, and then as we're coming through, the club obviously is marrying that shaft plane on the ground. Then from there the hands move in, club head is deflected out to the right because the hands are moving in. And as we come through to the impact position, what I like to see in a good golf swing is people who come through and the shaft is level with their left hip, okay, or in line with the level of the left hip. From there, that's where the club face is fully rotated over, okay, so let's go through that again, just briefly. So we come through, the shaft plane on the club marries the shaft plane on the ground, but the hands are moved, the hand pass moving in, club head's moving out, because obviously with the club face needs to rotate, and as we come through the body's turning, which means the hands go left. That marries the shaft plane, so hit golf ball, and what happens from there is the club, so this shaft goes from parallel to the ground, then comes back down. Then what happens is because the hips, this left leg straightens slightly through impact, then what's going to happen is the left shoulder's going to move up, so it's like a chain reaction. The hands move up the way, the hands move up and in, which is good for a driver and it's good for any shot. It's going to get hands to go left. So let's talk through this again. So halfway back, right hip, hands need to go through obviously right hip, drag the cane along the ground, three-quarter swing, so hands go through right bicep, get to the top of that swing, hands are slightly level or almost level with the eyes, hands are slightly higher though, we create a full body rotation. Remember, the butt end of the club and the body should stay in almost a magnetic connection, okay, so if I come back down, hips turn out the way, let's go through the right bicep again, where we're three-quarters. From there, the club head's slightly travelling from the inside, then the halfway down, the butt end of the club, so this stick starts to move into the left, club head's moving out because the hands are moving in, and then the body rotates, and as we get halfway down, because we're hitting golf ball, what tends to happen is because the body's lifting up through impact, then this left hand starts to move. That's where the shaft's going to go in a more vertical position as we come through. So halfway down, come back through impact. Another thing I like to see is when people release the club properly, is they finish with their arms at shoulder height. See a lot of golfers who don't create a lot of distance, they keep their chest on the ground for too long, so they get in this position, and then they don't create a lot of extension. That's where a lot of good golfers hit the ball on the up slightly, because they create so much extension. So if you watch a Justin Thomas when he gets two heels off the ground, that's because he's trying to hit up on it as much as the legs straighten. Watch the legs straighten means the body goes into more extension, meaning they're hitting up on it. So think about, we don't want it to stay for flex for longer, so think about, with a driver it's good trying to get the legs straight as quick as possible, not necessarily good with an iron because the club's shorter. So we get to top, rotate through, and then the legs start to straighten. The club head's always tracking slightly inside the golf ball. The hands are going to travel inside more than the club head does because we're releasing it. Okay, so we're coming through into impact, and then from there we release the club properly, but the butt end of the club and our navel, or the magnet on our navel, is almost coming through at the same rates. Okay, so that's a good consistent sequence to have. So we're coming through, so keep the butt end of the club in line with your chest all the way through, then we're turning into that same impact position. So turn towards the right and then turn left, but keeping the club in direct connection. So let's try and hit a shot of this. I've held that stick for too long, my hands are going to freeze. So let's try this. Position 1, position 2, position 3, position 4, position 5, and then position 6. Let's focus on the positions. So, try again. Club head level with the ground, or shaft level with the ground. Take club up 3/4, hands go through right shoulder, get to top, hands go behind right shoulder. We lift up slightly because obviously the body's lifting up because the right hip is extending and the right leg straightening. And from there, what happens is we come back down, then the body starts to rotate, club head gets 3/4 of the way down, then the hands start to come in the way as we get halfway down, because the clubs start to rotate, the hands are starting to rotate more, the club head's out, and then let's release the club properly. Okay, so we're getting through to this position, then we're releasing the club. With our chest pointing towards target and the club pointing towards target as well. Struggling to see that now. So, I think I've spoken enough there about the tips, or what I like to see in a consistent golf swing. You can break it down, different components, and think about what you need to learn. It's a winter job. So it's getting quite dark here, so I'm going to head. And got any thoughts on that video, make sure you post your comments below. There's quite a lot of information in there, so don't need to necessarily memorise every single word I've said. You'll be there for a while. But highlight the main important facets that you think, and then work on that over the winter. If it's getting into the correct backswing position, remember, if the takeaway is correct, then the downswing is going to be correct. If we get the takeaway position to start off with, it's really hard to actually catch up without compensate. So it's important to try and understand your swing, break it down, and subscribe to the channel. Plenty of other videos coming your way over the next few weeks.